Leslie, well, it is really great to be here. We are August 11th, 2020, and we are at the headquarters of the New Development Bank. And I came here mainly to thank you, Leslie, because you have contributed to China and the world. I personally think that you wrote a very important article, and I hope the viewers can also go and to buy and to read China and the world. But I wanted to ask you, Leslie, if you had to summarize your article in one idea, what would be the main idea of your article?
Firstly, thank you very much for visiting us here again at the headquarters of the New Development Bank, and it's been a pleasure to collaborate on the China and the World project. The one core idea of the chapter on global financial architecture is that the world has changed irreversibly since 1944. In 1944, at a very historic meeting in a place called Bretton Woods in New Hampshire in the United States, a gathering took place which essentially constructed and designed the architecture of the global financial system that exists to this day. That architecture has remained in place. However, the world has changed quite significantly, and one of the most significant developments have been the rise of new powerful actors on the global stage: China, India, Brazil, and many other countries. But China being the most central of those emerging markets. The world has not fully incorporated, accommodated, taken full cognizance of this historic sort of change in the global balance of power. So I argue in this essay that there needs to be a greater reflection of this emergence of China on the global stage. And then two, China has to take on board a series of domestic reforms, a journey that they have already started and are traveling on, but they need to accelerate the implementation of those reforms in order for it to become a more meaningful actor in the global financial system. So I guess there are sort of two anchors to the essay.
Exactly. Thank you, Leslie. Would you say that your bank, the New Development Bank, the BRICS Bank, or the AIIB, because in the book one speaks also a lot about the AIIB, they are the symbols of this new world?
The Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank was formed in 2015 at the same time as the New Development Bank. This is the first time ever that two new multilateral banks, these are global institutions, right, established by an international treaty that are headquartered in China. We are the only multilateral bank headquartered here in China, and Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, the only one in Beijing. So for the first time since 1944, new global institutions have been formed where China is the anchor or significant shareholder of. Very importantly though, David, is the point that in the very essence and in the legal construct, in the DNA of these two banks, there is a clause which says that our mandate is to complement the existing global financial system. There's never been an intention, as I argue in the article, to set up rival institutions. The world is too interconnected, far too multipolar in character for one region or one country to decide to set up their own institutions that will operate in like an island, if you like. It is not possible. So we are certainly symbols of the new kaleidoscope of institutions that exist, but we're not necessarily symbols of the new world. We want to complement the Bretton Woods institutions, who, by the way, have been critical for global peace and prosperity since the Second World War.
Thank you, Leslie. So once again, I encourage the viewers to look at your article and actually to have a look at the book, China and the World. You said that multipolarity defines the world in which we live. Now, one wishes, and this is also very clearly said in your article, to see a collaborative world. I wanted to ask you, and here we go beyond your essay, but how do we make sure, Leslie, in your opinion, that we stay on the path of collaboration at the global level?
As you know, and as I argue in my article, and as many others would have argued in the rest of the book, the world today is very interconnected and interdependent. In other words, it is not possible to unscramble an egg, if you like. You know, once you have broken those eggs into the pan and you've started to sort of mix, to put them back together, it is not possible, right? So, you know, from the clothing we're wearing to the iPhones or the phones we carry, everything has a global supply chain of sorts. It would reverse the world if suddenly each country has to try and, you know, take us back to several hundred years. That recognition takes us to the point where, you know, the former Deputy Prime Minister of Singapore argued that the world no longer has one orchestra and one conductor. There are multiple orchestras, and we need to find a new harmony, is the way that he has described it. So this collaboration that you are talking about has to be rooted in that idea that our collective prosperity is dependent on that collaboration. The biggest problems, let's take COVID-19, David, as you know, it has affected the world in a very dramatic and fundamental way. We cannot solve the problem of the pandemic in China alone. China right now has largely dealt with the pandemic, but, you know, tourists cannot come in and visit the big historic sites here. Businessmen cannot just come and do their business. We have to solve it at the global level. You need a multilateral response to problems that are transnational in character. We cannot be solved just in one country. So this collaboration that you talk to, it is absolutely essential. It has to be rooted within a multilateral set of actions, which institutions like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, ourselves, all of us play a critical role in. We are all pieces of that broader puzzle.
Thank you, Leslie, and again, thank you for supporting our efforts. We hope that China and the world contributes to the dialogue we have to have on China and the world, a contribution through knowledge. I think it produces knowledge about China and the new world, and your article is a very important source of knowledge for those who want to understand the evolution of the global financial architecture. But this is also China and the world, a book made of nuances, if I may say, in life, and certainly at the global level, one needs to integrate the fact that the world is really complex, very, very, very complex. And we want to enrich the conversation also, Leslie, in the sense that it is also a book in which we formulate, in a very humble way, but I think serious way, also some policy recommendations to prepare a world in which collaboration is indispensable. And we live in a world in which China cannot be separated from the world, but also we believe the world cannot be separated from China. And this book and your article is an expression of these ideas. So really, thank you very much for the contribution and your support.
Thank you very much for having me, David.
Thank you, Leslie.